Hello everyone. Now here we are in Azure portal. In this video, we will be creating a virtual machine and that virtual machine will actually be running in the server which is present in the data center of Microsoft Azure. We can just access that virtual machine. Okay. So let's see how we can create a virtual machine. So you can either go to this virtual machine from here. Since we currently don't have any virtual machine running, so it's saying no virtual machines to display, and then you can simply click on create and then this button, and it will provide you with the window to create a virtual machine. So this is one way to create a virtual machine. Okay, you can also go to all services here and that compute section, and then you can select the virtual machine from there also. So let's create our first Windows-based virtual machine. We will actually be creating a virtual machine which will be running the Windows server. Okay, and then we will be hosting a simple website on that Windows server. So it will be very exciting to see how we can do that. So as always, we need to first choose our subscription. So I have my subscription here, and then currently I have two resource group, but I will actually create a new resource group for the better purpose. So I'll give the resource group name as okay virtual machine resource group, and then I will give the name of my virtual machine because this name will be used as the computer name which we will configure as the part of the OS. We can give up to 15 characters for a Windows virtual machine. So simply I will just give as test Windows VM. I'll be selecting my location as because as you can see region, not all regions are same because see I have select my region is selected as West India, and you can see this region does not support this virtual machine size. So I have to change my region. I will select Central India, which will be Pune. Now this size is available in the Central India region. So you need to be very careful about selecting the region. There are various factors that are taken into consideration to choose a region, cost and various other factors also, latency, compliance. Okay. So because Azure has data center all over the world, so you can choose any region where you want to run your application or host your workload. The better way is to choose a region which is nearer to you. So I have selected Central India. Availability options, we currently don't require any availability options. So as availability zones and virtual machine scale set are not available, and availability set is given here. So using availability set, you get 99.95% of the availability. So what is availability? Means it is the percentage of time a service is available for use. Means how much time your virtual machine will be available for use. Because there can be failures of the server in which your virtual machine is running, right? So there can be downtime. So availability indicates means how much percentage of time your service will be available for use. So there are various ways in which we can improve our availability. So one way is this availability set. Now what is this availability set? It is a logical feature, right? Used to ensure that a group of related VMs are deployed in such a way so that they aren't all subject to a single point of failure. Means you will be deploying at least two or three or more virtual machines, okay, not just one. You will be deploying at least two or three or virtual machines, and you can place them in a availability set. Currently I don't have availability set, but you can place those virtual machines in a availability set, and Azure will ensure that those virtual machines are part of a different server, because there can be scenario like if you create two virtual machines running the same service, okay, but those both virtual machine can get created in a single server. So what happens if that single server fails? Okay, so your both virtual machine will be down. So using availability set, you can ensure that if you create two virtual machines which are running the same services, so you can place them in a availability set, and Azure will ensure that both of these virtual machine gets created in a different physical server in the same data center. So if one server goes down, you have your VM running in one another physical server. So it ensures a high availability. So the availability we get, SLA, service level agreement, or the availability we get is 99.95% here. Okay, and this is possible if you have two or more virtual machines running. Because if you have only single virtual machine running, so availability so set won't provide you that SLA 99.95%. You will only get 99.9% then. Okay. So at least you have two or more virtual machines deployed in an availability set. Another option is availability zone. Now suppose if complete data center fails, right? So your both server will also be down. So that means your both virtual machine are also down. So that time availability set also won't work. So if you want to protect your VM against a complete data center failure, so you can place them in availability zone, because we have studied, right, availability zone are set of data centers. Means availability zone can have one or more data centers. So in a region we have at least three availability zones, and those are different data centers. So if one data center goes down, you have your VM running in another data center. So you can place both of your VM in different availability zone. So if one availability zone or data center goes down, you have your VM running in another availability zone or data center. So the SLA availability zone provides is 99.99%. Okay. So it's a little more than compared to availability set. So right now we don't need any of this, because we will be creating only single virtual machine. So both of these will work and provide that SLA if you have two or more virtual machines running. So right now we don't need any infrastructure redundancy. So image means which operating system you want to run in your virtual machine. So I'll be running Windows Server 2019 Data Center Generation 1. You can also select various other images. This is the marketplace. You get various kinds of images from here. Like you can also run Red Hat, Debian, Ubuntu, CentOS, and then various other operating systems you can run. Next is the size. What is the size of the virtual machine? Now, what size means is, because we need to decide what will be the size of a virtual machine. So rather than individually specifying like what will be the CPU memory of our virtual machine, we select size. Size combines all of this into one, and it provides us with various options. So Azure provides us with the different VM sizes that offers variation of these vCPU, memory, etc. There are various categories available. So let's see. We can click on see all sizes. As you can see, there are lots of sizes available. The S1 V2, which provides us with one CPU, 3.5 GB of RAM. Okay, and then the various other factors, IOPS, data disks, how much data disks they can support. what is the type of disk they can support, premium disk they can support or not. So it's supported in most of the series here. So we'll be select, as you can see, the D2S V3 provides 2V CPU at 8 GB of RAM, and based on all of these sizes, we have cost associated. DS1 V2 will generate a cost of rupees 6,000 per month. D2S V3 will generate rupees 10,000 per month. So you need to be very careful while selecting the size based on your workload. You have to select the size of the VM you want to run, because you either don't want to over provision or under provision. Under provision means suppose your workload requires at least 8 GB of RAM and you provision a virtual machine of just 3.5 GB of RAM, so it will be under provision. And suppose if your workload requires a RAM of only 4 GB, but you provision a virtual machine of 8 GB, so it will be over provision, and it will generate unnecessary costs. So based on your workload or the type of resources you will be running in a VM, you need to select the size based on that only. Okay. So we just need the simple virtual machine to host our very basic website. So we will be selecting DS1 V2, this one. Okay, you can select anything and click on just select. So I will be selecting DS1 V2. Now logging into Windows Server, because at the time of opening Windows, will be asked with the credentials to log in as the administrator. So we need to provide the credentials here. I will be giving username and password. Okay, so I have got the green tick for all of this. Now next come the inbound port rules. Now what this inbound port rules means is, by default Azure accept no external connection, right? If you don't allow anything, if I choose none, I won't be able to access this virtual machine, because you can see the definition here. Select which virtual machine network ports are available accessible from the public internet. So means which ports are accessible from the public internet, you can specify. So if I click none, none of the ports will be accessible, so I won't be able to connect to this virtual machine. So we need to allow some ports to be able to access this virtual machine from the external internet. Okay, from the outside public internet. So I need to allow some ports. So let's see, I have selected allow ports. Now it's asking me. So I'll be selecting RDP. Now what is RDP? Because we need to connect to this Windows virtual machine. So RDP provides a remote connectivity to the user interface of Windows based computers. So RDP is actually a protocol which runs on port 3389. So it allows us to sign in into the remote physical or virtual Windows computer. Okay, and we can then access that remote Windows machine using the RDP protocol. So it runs on port 3389. So we need to open the port 3389 of our virtual machine so that we can access and connect to this virtual machine. And also we will be running one website on this virtual machine, means we'll be installing the web server and host a simple website. So so that website will be accessible on the port 80 HTTP, using HTTP protocol. So HTTP runs on port 80. So that website will be accessible from the port 80. So we need to also enable this also. But let's see what if we don't enable. Okay. So we will need to enable this later, but let's see what will happen if I don't enable this. Will we be able to access the our website or not? So we will get answer of that later. Right now I will just enable RDP so that we can connect to this virtual machine using remote desktop protocol. We don't need any licensing right now here. Next, disks. Now our operating system will be running in a disk, so we can select the type of the disk we want. So let's just leave it with the default premium SSD. Based on the performance you can select. So premium SSD is recommended for production and performance sensitive workloads. Standard SSD is just for web servers and development and testing. Standard HDD are just for backup or infrequent data, means for archival purposes, for the data which you won't be accessing very frequently. So let's just leave it as premium SSD. And by default, our all the data which will be stored in these disks will be encrypted. So that's not a yes or no option. They are always will be encrypted. So we just can select how we can encrypt. So this is default. Like encryption will be at rest with a platform managed key. Means whatever the private and public keys will be used to encrypt the data will be managed by platform only. Means Azure only. We don't need to manage any key. Or if you have your own key or customer, so you can provide those key as well. So let's just leave it as default to be managed by Azure only. So these keys will be managed by Azure. If you want to add additional disk, so two types of disk are there. Disk in which OS is running, operating system. You can also attach additional data disks to store your application or files, anything. So you can simply attach a new disk if you want to. And you can also then select the size, means 1024 GB, so it's 1 terabyte. How much size of disk you require, you can simply just add. I won't be adding any external disk because we don't need it. Next comes the networking. You want to connect your virtual machine, right? And this virtual machine needs an IP address. So it has two type of IP address associated with it, private and public IP address. So the private IP address is a part of the virtual network. So by default, Azure will create a virtual network for our purpose. We don't need to create a virtual network. It will create a default virtual network. But if you want to create your own virtual network, you can simply click here, because virtual network provides us with connectivity, right? So means the VM will require private IP address. So the virtual network provides us with the address range, and from that address range, our virtual machine will get the private IP address. So if you want, you can create new virtual network. I will leave it with the default. And to manage the virtual network address, means whatever the address range is provided for the virtual network is very large, right? It is /16. So what you can do is you can divide those large address range into smaller subnets. So it will be easy to manage those resources, uh, IP address space. So you divide those virtual network address range into smaller address range, and those are subnets. So each subnet, in each subnet, Azure will reserve 5 IP address for itself. So okay, so as you can see, our first virtual network has this these address range 10.0.0.0 to 10.0.255.255. So it has an address range of /16. We are just selecting the first subnet from that address range, that is 10.0.0.0/24. Okay. Likewise, you can create other subnets also in that virtual network from here. If you want to create more subnets, I will just leave with both of them as default. So this will just have 10.0.0.0 to 10.0.0.255. So this subnet is a part of our virtual network. Okay, so this subnet is part of this virtual network, and whatever the IP addresses range is in this subnet, our virtual machine will be allocated one private IP address from this range. Now you can assign your virtual machine with the public IP. You can choose to have a public IP or not any public IP. But if we don't have any public IP, how we will connect, right? So we need public IP for now. But in the production environment, it is recommended to don't have a public IP for the virtual machines. Because there are various other ways also to connect to those virtual machine. Organization can use VPN and other things to access the virtual machine with their private IP address. But currently we don't have any VPN settings enabled. So we need public IP address to connect to this virtual machine. So we'll leave it with the default, like we need a public IP. And then the network security group, like we already selected here, that network security group helps us to filter the traffic. So we already selected here that we want our virtual machine to be accessible, to be connected over the port 3389. So this is handled by the network security group. So we have allowed the RDP already. Okay, we will need HTTP running also over the port 80 to access our website. But let's see what happens if we don't provide this right now. How we will also see how we can do this later also. Next, from the management, we don't require many or much of the settings here. Let's disable this boot diagnostics. Go to advanced. So in advance, if you have any script, you can simply paste it here. Means pass a script configuration file or other data into the virtual machine while it is being provisioned. Means when your virtual machine will be created, if you want to run any script or something after it gets created automatically, you can do that here. So it's like kind of automation. Means whenever your virtual machine is provisioned, you want some scripts to run, like either install a web server or anything, you can run here. You can just simply paste it here. Okay, and it will run it for you after the virtual machine is provisioned. It's basically mostly used to install a web server. Like after virtual machine is provisioned, you install a web server in it, like Apache, Nginx, etc. Tags, like again, if you want to give tags, tags are name value pairs that enable you to categorize resources and view consolidated billing by applying the same tag to multiple resources. So if you have tags, same tag applied to various resources, so you will get, so you can check your cost based on the tag, like how, so whatever tag is applied to those resources, you can check how much these resources have consumed, how much. So you can view consolidated billing by applying the same tag to multiple resources. So right now I don't want to create any tag. Review and create. Now it will check for our configurations. You can see the final validation has been passed, means all our settings are correct, and we can see the summary of our setting configurations here. It is saying this virtual machine will cost us 9 INR per hour. So roughly 240 rupees per day. Okay. And then all of the setting here, it is also giving us the warning that we have set RDP port open to internet. Means anyone with the IP address or the username and password can connect to this virtual machine. So let's leave it default only, ignore that warning, because we are not running any sensitive here. So it's just for testing purpose. So let's ignore that warning. And as always, you can download a template for automation. So we already seen what automation is for. Means it will download a JSON file, and you can use that JSON file. It will, let's see how it looks like. So it will provide you with the JSON file with all of the resources or the configuration you have selected, and you can use this JSON file to deploy another resources. Okay, so you can it helps you with the automation. Means you don't want to go through the portal again and again. You can just simply change the value over here, and you can deploy another virtual machine using this template. You can also download it, so it has all of the configurations stored Okay, like IP configurations, and then the location and various other aspects, virtual networks location. So it has all of the configurations and parameters which is required to deploy a virtual machine. So you can simply change if anything is required and deploy another virtual machine. So it helps with the automation purpose. Now let's just simply click on the create button to create our very first virtual machine. So as you can see, it is very simple to deploy a Windows-based virtual machine. If you had on-premise, you need to install and buy the servers, do the virtualization. Okay, so it's a very lengthy and tedious process. With cloud computing, we have seen like how we can simply create a virtual machine just with the help of a few button clicks. Now our virtual machine, which is running a Windows operating system, will now be deployed in the Microsoft Azure data center. So that data center is in the region, what region we had selected? Central India. So this virtual machine is currently running in the Central India region, which is Pune. So we can go to our resources from here, and you can see notification says our resource virtual machine is deployed. Now we can see the various aspects of this virtual machine. The name of the resource group, which it is part of operating system, it is Windows, and then the status that virtual machine is running, the size of the virtual machine, it has one CPU and 3.5 GB of RAM. Location is Central India, and it is also assigned with the public IP address. So using this public IP address, we can access this virtual machine, and then the subscription, which is it is part of, and the various other things. So you can see the all of the details from here. We can also go to the networking section and see that different rules we have. So as you can see, there are three default rules. Allow VNet inbound means internal communication in the same virtual network is allowed. Two VMs which are part of the same virtual network are allowed to communicate with each other. Also, the connection from the load balancer is also allowed to this virtual machine, and all of the inbound connection is denied. As we have seen, like by default, you won't be able to send any request to this virtual machine from the public internet. So it is denied. It has an action of deny, but we have allowed the RDP, which has a priority of 300. So this rule will work over this rule because it has a less number means high priority. Okay, we remember this, and high number means low priority. So we have a low number here 300, but it has high priority over all the other rules. So we have allowed the RDP connection to the port 3389 using the TCP protocol from the source. What will be the source? The For now the source will be my laptop, from which I will be connecting to this virtual machine. But any of the device can be used to connect to this virtual machine. You can modify the rules or add additional rule. Okay, you can either also delete the rules, existing rules, and the destination. So the action is allowed means I am allowed to connect to this virtual machine using the RDP protocol. All right. So this is how you can create a Windows virtual machine running in the Azure data center. So to connect, you can just simply click on connect and then use the RDP, because SSH is used for Linux machine. So for Windows, to connect to Windows machine, we need RDP protocol. So you can click on here and you can download the RDP file. So it says it will have this configuration set in the RDP file, means to the IP address we want to connect. So we want to connect to the IP address of this virtual machine, and the port number will be 3389 because RDP works on port 3389. So we can just simply download this RDP file, and our RDP file has been downloaded. Okay. In the next video, we will see how we can connect to this virtual machine. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this hands-on session. Thank you very much. Bye.